Awesome. So you guys have uncovered the insane power of always qualifying others and pretending they're correct and sort of looking at it from their perspective and allowing them to see themselves as the most important person in their life, as the most correct person in their life, and really just abolishing this natural habit of trying to correct people or tell them that they're wrong, which is so powerful, so huge. Now that we have like that core concept down, you understand the foundation, we're gonna move on to this next concept, which is so big, and it's about admitting that you're wrong the moment that it happens. And this concept is so huge, and yet it's one of the toughest things I think that is taught in this book. This idea of like, you know, going out there and saying, you know, raising your hand and say, look, this is my fault, I'm sorry, I messed up. And it's a tough thing to do because very often we'll like think that there's some sort of negative repercussion or some bad consequence for what our actions are, right? And so we won't actually, you know, go up to the surface, be transparent, be honest, and share with others what the true facts are, what's actually going on, how you actually feel. And so because of that, it totally crushes the validity, the trust, and the overarching growth in your relationships, which is just super messed up because it totally screws over your relationship assets. And more importantly, it stops productive flow of organizations and it destroys the team's ability to have a creative output together in an effective manner, which is so crucial. And yet, like, that's one thing that you can totally glance over if you can't match this one concept. So with that said, let's get right into it. Let's go over to the computer. Let's make it happen. All right. Carnegie, Dale, he talks about this idea, and he's talking about, you know, within a minute's walk of his home, there was like a big wild stretch of blackberry thickets, right? And so there were these, you know, big blackberry thickets, and they would have, you know, some nice blackberries on them in the spring, right? And they were like super cool, right? And the squirrels, you know, they would nest around and they would sort of go around and get some blueberries, get the weeds. And this unspoiled place, you know, he called this Forest Park, right? And in Forest Park, he would go and he'd like walk his dog, and it was just this big forest. And he just loved to walk his little bulldog Rex in the park, right? And he would just go, they would go in the park and they'd have a great time. And it was just a beautiful place for Dale and for his dog to go and just have some fun. And his dog, he was friendly, he was harmless. And so because there were like rarely any other people like in the park, it was usually just Dale and his dog, he took Rex alongside without like a leash or a muzzle or anything. And then one day he encountered a mounted policeman in the park, right? And so this guy's like just chilling out, sitting on like this horse or something, and he's like patrolling the park, and he's like the only guy there. You know, they see each other, and this guy, what does he want to do? He wants to show his authority, right? People want a feeling of significance. Where do they get it? They get it from displaying their own authority. What do you mean? So, you know, they're going through the process. The guy comes up and he says, what do you mean by letting that dog run loose in the park without a muzzle and a leash? And, you know, basically he just reprimanded Dale, and he said, don't you know that's against the law? And of course, you know, he's like, yes, I know it is, but I didn't think he would do any harm out here. And then this policeman, you know, he wants to show his power, right? He wants to show his authority. He says, you know, you didn't think, the law doesn't give a tinker's damn about what you think. That dog might kill a squirrel or bite a child. Now, I'm gonna let you off with a warning, but if you catch, you know, this dog around here again without a muzzle or a leash, then he's gonna have to tell the judge. And so it's this concept that, like, if you force somebody into doing something, or if you display tons and tons of power and authority over them, basically give them no option but to subdue and to do what you want them to do, like, at the end, they're basically gonna listen to you, right? I mean, they just don't really have that much of an option. And so, you know, Dale, he meekly promises to obey, and he did obey, you know, for a few times. But Rex, you know, he didn't like the muzzle, and neither did Dale. So he really just wants to have some fun with his dog, right? And so everything, you know, worked for a while, but then there was a snag as they tried to sort of get rid of the muzzle and just didn't use it, right? And there was this one day when Rex and Dale were kind of racing over the brow of a hill one afternoon, and there suddenly, to Dale's dismay, you know, there was this big cop laying on his horse, and Ray was out in front. Rex, you know, the dog is running like right towards this officer, and Dale's like, oh crap, right? Because the dog is just kind of run like right into the police, and he's like, what in the world? This is not very great. This is a bad situation. And so, like, he was in for it, and he knew it, and he didn't have to wait for this policeman to stop talking. So here's what he did that was so powerful. He beat the policeman to it, and he said, officer, you caught me red-handed. I'm guilty. I have no alibis, no excuses. You warned me last week that if I brought my dog dog out here again, you without a muzzle, you would find me. And he basically says, look, this is my fault. I'm the worst ever. This is awful. I am so sorry. This is my fault. Terrible, worst thing ever. And then the policeman says, well, now, you know, I know it's a temptation to let a little dog like that have a run out here when nobody's around. And so he's actually sort of arguing for him. And so what Dale does is he argues against himself, and he says, sure, it's a temptation, but it's against the law. And then he repeats what the cop originally said to him. You know, the police guy, he says, well, a little dog like that won't harm anybody. And then he says, no, but he might kill squirrels. Which he says what, you know, the guy said earlier, right? You really, this is a powerful concept. He repeats the same words that the cop was using. So if you can like mimic somebody's vocabulary, if you can mimic what they're saying to you back at them, like it's really gonna help you connect with them on a very, very personal level. Because when you sound like somebody else, they relate to you more and they'll connect with you much more than any other situation where maybe they don't feel as intimate. Or if you're using vocabulary or language they don't understand, they're gonna feel an even greater sense of disconnection and not want to align with you whatsoever or help you in any way. And so the policeman, you know, being human, wanted a feeling of importance. And so he began basically to condemn himself.